I need freedom from this marriage. That's how my wife decided to end 8 years together. After cheating, after lying, after thinking I'd never put the pieces together. She said it like she was freeing herself from some prison, like I was the problem she needed to escape. So I looked her dead in the eyes and told her, "Good, pack fast, tonight it begins." She blinked, stunned. But me? I'd already felt the shift long before this moment. The distance, the secrets, the cold laughter meant for someone else. You want to know how a good man turns cold? Stay with me. What happens next is the part she never saw coming. My name's Cole Maddox, 39. I used to work in military intelligence, read people before they got us killed. Problem is, that skill never turns off. Now I'm a security contractor, fix problems others don't see, and when I want peace, I'm in the garage. Machines don't lie. If something's broken, they show you. After the service, I didn't want adrenaline. I wanted quiet. Ridgewood, Texas gave me that. 2-story homes, kids on bikes, flags on porches, Saturday BBQ smoke drifting over trimmed lawns, neighbors who waved the same way every morning. Boring to most people. To me, it felt like winning the lottery. I wanted peace, solid ground, a roof that didn't echo with chaos, a place where a man could hang his keys and his past in the same spot and finally exhale. Hannah said she wanted that too. When Westlake opened a branch closer to Ridgewood and Hannah didn't have to grind 2 hours of traffic each way anymore, she cried in our kitchen. "Finally," she said, wrapped around me. "No more highway, just time to actually live our life." I believed her, built everything around that sentence. Maybe that's why the first crack hit so hard. It didn't show up as lipstick or a strange number at midnight. It showed up as a stupid dish towel. Hannah has this little ritual. Wash hands, dry them twice, fold the towel, smooth the edge with her fingers, hang it straight on the hook by the stove. Same motion, every day, for years. So familiar I stopped seeing it. Then one regular Tuesday she shut off the faucet, grabbed the towel, gave her hands one rough swipe and just tossed it on the counter. Didn't fold it, didn't hang it. Her fingers were already reaching for her phone before the water even stopped dripping. I remember staring at that crumpled towel. My gut tightened. Something felt off. My brain jumped in. Relax. Long day. She's tired. One weird moment means nothing. But it wasn't just one moment. And deep down I already knew that. The towel was the first thing. The phone was the second, and third, and 10th. See, Hannah used to treat her phone like a teenager treats a hoodie. Just dropped it wherever she landed. On the arm of the couch, by the coffee maker, on the bathroom counter. Half the time it was buried under a stack of mail. I'd find it, bring it to her, and she'd smile, kiss my cheek and say, "Good thing I married my human phone tracker." It was easy, light. There was nothing to hide. Then slowly, it changed. Her phone stopped living in random places and started living on her. Always in her hand, in her back pocket, on the table right next to her, like an extra limb. And when she did set it down, it was never screen up anymore. Always face down. Screen to the wood. Notifications lighting up against the table where no one else could see. One time I caught myself staring at that black rectangle like it was a live grenade. Red flags were everywhere. I'm trained to see them. I could feel my gut tightening, my brain connecting dots. But my heart kept whispering, "She's still your Hannah. Don't go looking for ghosts." If you've ever loved a woman, you know her real laugh. Not the polite one she uses at work. The real one. The one that starts in her chest and hits her eyes before it hits her mouth. Hannah's real laugh used to be my favorite sound. Big, warm, unguarded. I'd spend whole days stacking stupid stories just to earn it when I walked through the door. Then one day, a different laugh showed up. Sharper, louder, a little too bright around the edges, like cheap neon. And it only ever came out when she was looking at her phone. I'd walk past the living room and hear it, that new, performative laugh spilling out of her. And the second she noticed me, her thumb would slam the screen dark. "No, it's nothing," she'd say, almost too fast. "Just something dumb." It kept happening. One night I came up behind her while she was scrolling at the kitchen counter. Same boots, same floor, same house we'd shared for years. She jumped, actually flinched like I'd caught her stealing. Jesus, Cole, you scared me. I didn't say it out loud, but the thought was clear as day. Nothing about how I moved had changed. The only thing that changed was what she was doing when I moved. After the weird towel, the glued-on phone, and the new laugh, you'd think I'd be ready for anything. I wasn't. One night she walked in the door after work and the smell hit me before her voice did. Not her usual cheap body spray I used to tease her about. This was different, expensive, heavy, sweet enough to claw the back of your throat. I was leaning against the counter when she dropped her bag. "New perfume?" I asked, casual, like I was just making conversation. She let out that brittle, glass-breaking laugh. "Oh no, that's probably Lauren from accounting. She's a hugger. Attacked me by the copier." On paper, it sounded harmless. Made sense even. Office women hugging, perfume transferring, no big deal. But it didn't fit the pattern. Hannah hated strangers in her space. She'd rant for 20 minutes if someone stood too close in a grocery line. Now suddenly she's cool with being attacked by a coworker hugger? I nodded, didn't push. "Got it," I said. "Lauren the hugger." Out loud, that was all. Inside, I put another tick next to red flag. One data point means nothing. But I wasn't at one anymore. And the next one didn't leave room for excuses. It happened on a quiet night. TV low, some forgettable show playing, the kind of evening marriages are built on. Hannah's phone buzzed. She stood up, dropped it on the cushion next to my leg, and headed to the bathroom. For once, the screen was face up. I wasn't snooping, didn't touch it. But when the notification lit the room, there it was, plain as day. "Can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible. DH. I've been shot at. I've heard mortars land way too close. None of that felt like this. My heart didn't race, didn't hammer. It just stopped. Like my whole body decided, if we stay perfectly still, maybe this won't be real." I stared at that line. Last night. You're incredible. Those two little initials at the end. And something inside me went very, very quiet. When I heard the bathroom door open, I picked the phone up gently, like it might explode. She walked back in, drying her hands. "You got a message," I said, voice steady. "Looks important." She glanced at the screen. I watched her pupils blow wide for half a second. And right there, before she said a single word, I knew. Whatever our marriage had been, it wasn't that anymore. Her eyes hit the screen, and I watched it happen in real time. First, fear. Then the calculation. Then the mask sliding back into place like it had never slipped. "Oh," she said, forcing a little laugh. "That's just Daniel, my boss, DH. We've been working on that big presentation, remember?" I held her gaze. "At night?" I asked. My voice sounded normal, almost bored. "He can't stop thinking about a presentation last night?" She didn't miss a beat. "We were working late," she said. "I told you that. You know how he is, kind of dramatic. It's just work stuff, Cole." There it was, the double down. No apology, no stumble. Just a clean jump from one lie to a bigger one, and she landed like she'd practiced. I wish I could tell you I called her out right then, that I threw the phone, demanded the truth, packed her bags. I didn't. I nodded slowly, like it made sense. "Yeah, right. Work stuff." And here's the ugly part. I didn't halfway believe her because her story was good. I halfway believed her because I wanted to. Because admitting she was cheating meant admitting the life I'd built was already dead. That night, after she fell asleep like nothing had happened, I didn't. I lay there staring at the ceiling, my mind running circles until the walls felt too close. So I did what I always do when I can't breathe. I went to the garage. The second I opened that door, the smell hit me. Motor oil, cut wood, cold metal. My '72 Chevy sat half-gutted in the middle, hood up, tools laid out in neat rows. Out there, things made sense. Machines don't pretend. If something's wrong, it shows you. You trace the leak, follow the noise, find the broken part. People aren't like that. I sat at my workbench with my phone in my hand, staring at the screen. We had a family plan, cheaper that way, my name on the account, admin access to everything. There's a feature buried in the settings, find device, for safety, for lost phones and emergencies. At 2 in the morning, I turned it on for hers. A little blue dot appeared on the map, right where it should have been. Our house, our bedroom, 10 feet above my head. Then I slid my thumb back through the timeline. That was the moment it happened. The switch flipped. I wasn't just a husband anymore trying to trust his wife. I was an intel guy again, running an operation, and I already knew I wasn't going to like what I found. At first, the map looked boring. Exactly what you'd expect from a married woman with a 9-to-5. Little blue line from our house in Ridgewood to Westlake's office. Back home, grocery store on Saturdays, gym twice a week. All the normal, nothing to see here stuff. But then I started lining it up with her stories. That late meeting till 9? The blue dot wasn't at her office. It was parked at a steakhouse 40 minutes away, sitting there from 6:32 p.m. to 10:11 p.m. That trip to Waco to meet a vendor? The dot never even left our county. Instead, it went straight to the Lakeside Inn, one of those discreet luxury spots right off the highway, and stayed there 4.5 hours. My chest went cold. I opened my laptop, pulled up Excel, and started typing. Date, time, what she said, where she actually was, row after row. Working late, steakhouse, vendor meeting, Lakeside Inn. Traffic's insane. Same hotel, different night. There's a special kind of pain that comes with watching your marriage shrink into columns and rows. But there's also a sick, cold clarity. For the first time, it wasn't just a feeling. It was data. And the numbers didn't lie, even if she did. 3 weeks of history, 14 clear lies, 7 trips to that same damn hotel. I sat there staring at the spreadsheet, scrolling up and down like maybe the numbers would rearrange themselves into something less ugly. They didn't. My stomach rolled. I stood up, walked to the utility sink in the corner of the garage, and lost it. It wasn't the sex, it was the lies. The way she looked me in the eye after being with him, and let me hold her like we were still real. I couldn't walk back into that house. Not that night. So I climbed into my truck, right there in our own driveway, leaned the seat back, and tried to sleep under the thin hum of the streetlight. I dozed maybe an hour. When the sun finally came up, I dragged myself inside. Hannah was at the coffee maker, humming, pouring 2 mugs like it was any other morning. She smiled over her shoulder. "Morning, babe." Inside, everything had collapsed. Outside, she was still playing the part of my wife. And that gap between my reality and hers, that's what finally broke something in me. After that morning babe in the kitchen, I made it through the motions. Coffee, shower, keys, door. I sat in my truck a full minute before I called him. Logan Price. We met when I got out of the service. He helped me figure out mortgages and civilian paperwork without making me feel stupid. He went to law school instead of re-upping. Family law, divorce, custody, the ugly stuff. He picked up on the second ring. "I need a consultation," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. There was a pause. "What kind?" he asked. "Extraction operation." He exhaled once. "My office. 30 minutes, he said. Then softer. "And Cole, don't do anything stupid on the way." His office is an old brick house downtown. Crepe myrtles out front, worn steps, heavy wooden door. Inside, hardwood floors, quiet hallways. The conference room faces a little courtyard instead of the street. No traffic noise, no chance of someone overhearing your life fall apart. He shut the door, crossed to a small cabinet, pulled out a bottle of whiskey. It wasn't even 9 a.m. "I know what time it is," he said, pouring 2 glasses. "Drink." So I did. For the first time since all this started, I didn't feel completely alone. We sat across from each other at that long table, the kind meant for board meetings and polished deals. I opened my bag and started laying my life out in pieces. Printouts of the GPS maps, screenshots, photos from the Thai place, the Excel sheet, date, time, what she said, where she really was. Logan went quiet. He read everything like a man reading an autopsy. No rush, no wasted motion. Just moving from page to page, making small notes in that neat lawyer handwriting of his. When he finally leaned back, he shook his head once. "This is solid," he said. "More than solid. You'll get your divorce, and you'll get it on good terms." He explained the basics. Texas is a no-fault state. Technically, the cheating doesn't matter for the actual dissolution. But in the real world, judges are still human. Evidence like this changes how settlements and negotiations go. I nodded, but I was only half listening. My eyes were on the table. My brain was already planning. That's when he really looked at me. "Cole," he said quietly, "I'm worried you're gonna forget you're human." I frowned. "I'm not going to kill anybody, Logan." "I'm not talking about that," he said. "I'm talking about this look you get. Mission look. This isn't a kill target op. This is your wife. This is civilian life. If you run this like a war, you might win every move and still lose yourself." And the worst part was, I knew he wasn't wrong. After I left Logan's office, I sat in my truck with the engine off and my phone in my hand. If I was going to do this right, I needed a name, not just initials on a lock screen. Westlake Developments. Our team page. I scrolled past project managers, HR heads, smiling executives in safe blue suits, and then I saw him. Daniel Harper, Director of Development. Thick styled hair, perfect teeth, suit that probably cost more than my whole wardrobe. His bio said he was passionate about building lasting partnerships. I actually laughed at that one. Lasting partnerships. Yeah, I bet. There were social links under his picture. I clicked through to his Facebook. First photo that popped up, Daniel on a ski trip, arm around a blonde woman, two teenagers squeezed in close. Everybody smiling like they'd just stepped out of a Christmas commercial. Caption read, "Family is everything. Family is everything." While he was texting my wife about last night, I took screenshots of the bio, the photos, the captions, saved them in a folder on my desktop and labeled it what it really was in my head. Target profile. Turns out, the man helping wreck my marriage was busy playing devoted husband and father in his own. Seeing his face on a screen wasn't enough. I needed to see how they moved around each other in real life. So the next day, I drove to Westlake around lunch and parked across the lot, far enough not to stand out, close enough to see. The building was all glass and steel, pretending to be important. Cars slid in and out, people with lanyards and coffee cups moving like clockwork. Around 12:15, the side door opened, and there they were, Hannah and Daniel, stepping out together. No touching, no obvious flirting. They kept that perfect coworker distance between them, just enough space to pass any casual glance test. But it was in the way she angled her body toward him, the way his head dipped closer when he spoke. You learn to read that stuff. They got into separate cars, his black BMW, her Subaru, and pulled out of the lot like strangers who just happened to leave at the same time. I followed at a distance. They met up again in the parking lot of a Thai place downtown, walked in together, and slid into a booth in the back corner. Through the window, I watched Daniel reach across the table and touch her hand. She didn't pull away. She gave him the real laugh, the one that used to belong to me. I raised my phone and took the picture, not because the law needed it, but because my heart did. I needed to kill the last part of me still hoping I was wrong. That same night, she came home like it had been any other Tuesday, dropped her purse, kicked off her heels, let out a long sigh. "God," she said, "we had this brutal meeting. Daniel was in one of his moods. I barely ate all day." She started talking about slides, deadlines, how the team was stressed, the usual corporate noise. I leaned against the counter, drying a plate, and kept my voice light. "Thai sounds good, huh?" I said. "Haven't had it in a while." She froze, just for a heartbeat. Most people would have missed it. I'm not most people. Then she smiled too fast. "Oh, I wish," she said. "Didn't even make it out for lunch. Vending machine special for me." I watched her move around our kitchen, telling that story like it was the weather. If I hadn't been in that parking lot, if I hadn't watched her laugh across a booth from him, I would have believed every word. That's what hit me hardest. It wasn't that she lied. It was how easily she could have kept me in the dark if I'd chosen to stay blind. Right there I understood. Trust wasn't noble anymore. It was dangerous. And whatever came next, I wasn't giving her the benefit of the doubt again. A few days later, she dropped the next lie like it was nothing. We were in the bedroom. She was zipping up that small overnight bag she used for work trips. "Last minute thing," she said, tossing in a blouse. Daniel wants me to drive to Houston, meet a supplier face to face. I'll be gone tonight, back tomorrow. I folded my arms, kept my tone flat. That's sudden. She shrugged, eyes on the mirror, fixing her hair. Yeah, I know. But he says I have the best rapport with them. I'll call you from the hotel, okay? She kissed me, grabbed her bag, and walked out smelling like that same wrong perfume. I stood there a long second after the door closed. Then I went to the garage. There's a locked drawer in my workbench that almost never gets opened anymore. Inside, there's a small voice recorder. Black, simple, voice-activated. 48-hour battery. Enough memory for 30 hours of clean audio. I've carried gear like that in places where getting caught with it could have gotten me shot. Now I was about to use it on my wife. I drove to Westlake, parked where cameras wouldn't love me, and walked to her Subaru like I'd done it 100 times. Spare key, back door, hand under the driver's seat, magnet clip, click, in and out in under 30 seconds. Old habits, new target. On the way back from planting the recorder, I pulled into a gas station and opened the tracking app. Old habit now. Her phone was still at Westlake, blue dot sitting on the office building. An hour later, it started moving. I watched it trace the highway out of town and waited for it to bend toward Houston. It didn't. Instead, it peeled off at the same exit I'd already memorized from my spreadsheet. Lakeside Inn. The dot slid into that parking lot and stopped. And then it stayed. 10 p.m., midnight, 2 in the morning. Just that tiny blue circle, glued to a cheap hotel off the highway, while I sat in a dark house scrolling the map like an idiot. Around 9, my phone rang. Hey, Hannah said, bright and tired at the same time. Just got to the hotel. Long drive. Gonna grab some dinner and crash. Love you. I looked at the word Lakeside on my screen while she lied in my ear. Love you too, I said, to a woman I did not know anymore. 14 hours later, the dot finally moved. I waited until she left for meetings, then drove over, slid the recorder back out from under her seat, and took it home to the garage. I already knew what the map would say. Now I was about to hear how betrayal sounds. Back in the garage, I shut the door, set the recorder on the workbench, and just looked at it for a minute. It's funny. In combat, you react without thinking. Here, my hand shook picking up something the size of a stick of gum. I plugged it into my laptop, slipped on my headphones, and hit play. At first it was just road noise, tires on asphalt, radio low in the background, her humming along to some song she used to dance to in our kitchen. Then the car Bluetooth clicked, and a man's voice came through, clear as if he were sitting beside me. Hey, beautiful, you on your way? Daniel. No title, no formality, just beautiful, like he'd earned the right. Hannah answered, and it was her old voice, light, playful, young in a way I hadn't heard directed at me in a long time. Yeah, she said, laughing. Just hit the highway. About 40 minutes out. Daniel's tone dropped. Perfect. Same room as last time. Already checked in. She laughed for real at that. The laugh I used to spend whole days trying to pull out of her. Every line hit like a punch to the gut. And the worst part? There was nothing to argue with. No way to pretend I hadn't seen right or heard wrong. It was her voice, her words, her choice. Just not for me anymore. There was more on that recorder. Curiosity's a sickness sometimes, and I kept listening. Different file, different day, door chime, seatbelts clicking, both of them getting into her car. Hannah's voice first, laughing. I feel like we barely left the bed all weekend. Daniel chuckled. Why would we? You said you didn't have to be home till Sunday night. She sighed in that playful way she used to save for me. Yeah, I finally texted Cole. Told him the meeting was running long, might roll into tomorrow. Then his voice lower, curious with a touch of mockery. How's he doing with all this? Your husband, Mr. Perfect. She didn't even hesitate. He's fine. He doesn't suspect anything. He trusts me completely. He's so predictable. It's kind of sad. I paused the file right there. Didn't need to hear another breath. Predictable. Sad. She took the part of me that made a stable life possible, the part that believed in commitment, in routine, in showing up every day, and turned it into a joke she shared with the man she was cheating with. It wasn't just that she'd stepped out on me. It was that my faithfulness had become their entertainment. That was the line I didn't come back from. I don't know how long I sat there after I hit pause. The shop was dark except for the glow of the laptop screen, casting just enough light to remind me I wasn't dreaming. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. It wasn't an explosion. It was concrete, slow, heavy, final. I took the headphones off and just listened to the silence. The tick of cooling metal, the distant hum of a neighbor's AC unit, my own breathing. That predictable, sad line kept looping in my head. She didn't just break my heart. Hearts break all the time. She went after who I am, the part of me that shows up, the man who believes his word means something, the guy who builds steady on purpose because he's seen what chaos does to people. And she tried to turn that into something pathetic. Eventually, I picked up my phone and found Logan's name. He answered on the first ring. "Yeah?" "I'm done watching," I said. My voice was low, flat. "I need to move now." There was a beat of silence. "Tomorrow," he said. "We do it legal, clean, final." And just like that, I stopped being the man trying to survive her lies and became the man planning his way out. The next day, I gave Logan everything he needed. I backed up all of it, audio files, maps, screenshots, the spreadsheet, onto a drive and handed it over in his office. "This is the legal package," I said, "for court, for negotiation, for whatever you need." But I kept a copy for myself, not for the judge, for Daniel. Back at home, I built a second folder on my laptop. Harper, inside, his family is everything pictures. The hotel trips lined up with Hannah's late nights, transcripts of the worst parts of their conversations. A neat little summary of Westlake's own policy about managers sleeping with subordinates. I read that policy twice. Clear as day, they weren't just cheating on their spouses. They were breaking company rules in a way that could cost him his job, his reputation, maybe his whole carefully curated life. Good. See, this wasn't about losing my mind and throwing punches in a parking lot. This was about consequences. I wasn't going to hit him from the shadows. I was going to walk straight up to him, man to man, and let him see exactly how badly he'd misjudged me. I was done playing nice. I waited for him in the Westlake lot. 4:30, the Texas sun bouncing off windshields, people heading to their cars with that half-dead end-of-day walk. Then his black BMW slid in, right into the reserved spot near the front. I stepped out of my truck and crossed the lot like I belonged there. "Daniel Harper," I called. He turned, keys in hand, squinting at me. "Yeah?" "I'm Hannah's husband," I said. "We need to talk." You could see the calculation start immediately. The quick scan, my face, my hands, the distance to the door, to other people. "I'm not sure Your car," I cut in, nodding at the BMW. "Trust me, you don't want this conversation out here." A point came where arguing would draw more attention than agreeing. We were at that point. He unlocked the car and we both got in. Leather seats, quiet cabin, that fake new car smell. He cleared his throat. "Look, nothing inappropriate has happened between your wife and..." I pulled out my phone, hit play. His own voice filled the car. "Same room as last time, already checked in." Hannah's real laugh followed, bright and guilty. I hit pause. The color drained from his face. He stared at me for a long second, and when he finally spoke, the tone was different. "What do you want?" There it was. He'd figured it out. I wasn't the clueless husband he'd been laughing about. I was the guy who'd brought the receipts. I let the silence sit for a second in that BMW, then reached into my jacket and pulled out a manila envelope. "This," I said, laying it on his lap, "is why you're going to listen." He opened it with shaking hands. Inside were printed screenshots of his texts to Hannah, maps of hotel trips highlighted in yellow, photos from the Thai place, transcripts of the worst lines from that recorder, him, her, the laughs, the lies. "All obtained legally," I said calmly. "Phone plans in my name, GPS logs, my account, public policy from your own company website, public photos from your family is everything Facebook page." His jaw clenched. "This is blackmail," he said. "No," I corrected. "This is consequences." I leaned back, kept my voice even. "You've got two choices, Daniel. Option 1, tonight you call Hannah and tell her her position's been eliminated. Budget cuts, restructuring, whatever keeps your HR department happy. 2 weeks severance, clean exit. Option 2. I send a lovely little package to HR, your board, and your wife. Full details on how you've been spending company time and hotel points. He stared at the papers like they might bite. She'll be gone by the end of the week, he muttered. I shook my head. Not good enough. Tonight. And in that moment, the man who'd helped blow up my marriage finally understood he'd never been holding the power. If you'd walked past our house that night and looked through the window, you'd have thought it was a picture of a happy marriage. Table set, candles lit, chicken parmesan in the middle, her favorite. I cooked it myself, took my time with it, not because I was trying to win her back, because I wanted the stage set. Hannah came home, eyes tired, shoulders slumped. She stopped in the doorway when she saw the table. "What's all this?" she asked, a small smile tugging at her mouth. "Thought we could have a real dinner," I said. "Feels like it's been a while." Some of the tension left her face. To her, I was still the predictable husband, steady, safe, too trusting to see past a story. We talked about nothing for a while. Work, weather, groceries. Halfway through her second bite, her phone lit up on the table. Daniel Harper. She glanced at the screen, then at me. "Work thing," she said. "I should take this." "Of course," I nodded. She stepped into the kitchen. I couldn't hear his words, but I didn't need to. I heard hers. "What? Daniel, that's not... No, this has to be a mistake. I just got promoted." When she came back, her eyes were red, hands shaking. I just got fired," she said. "Budget cuts, position eliminated, 2 weeks severance." I stood, walked around the table, and pulled her into a hug. "I'm sorry," I murmured. "We'll figure it out." She had no idea the knife that just went into her life was one I'd handed him myself. She broke in front of me. Not a few quiet tears, full-on sobbing, hands in her hair, words spilling out in pieces. "What am I going to do? We just refinanced my car payment. Who's going to hire me now? Cole, this is my career." I stood up, walked around the table, and pulled her in. Same way I'd done 100 times when life hit her hard. Arms around her shoulders, her face buried in my chest. "We'll figure it out," I said softly. "You'll find something else." It sounded like comfort. It used to be comfort. But standing there, feeling her shake against me, I knew the truth. I wasn't her shield anymore. I was just finishing a role I'd already quit inside. My heart didn't move. No anger, no pity, just a clear, cold distance. This, her losing that job, that man, that little fantasy life, was step one, not of punishing her, of freeing me. That night, after she finally cried herself quiet and went to bed, I stayed up at the dining table. I pulled out a fresh folder, maps, photos, transcripts. I arranged everything in order. Tomorrow, the conversation stopped being pretend. The next evening, I set the table again. No candles this time, no performance, just plates, cutlery, and a manila folder in the center like a loaded gun. Hannah came in with her laptop under her arm, eyes still puffy, but a little more hopeful. "I've been looking at job postings," she said, sitting down. "Maybe you can help me with my resume after dinner?" "Yeah," I said. "But first, we need to go through this." I slid the folder toward her and flipped it open. On top was a color printout of the GPS map. Little blue lines. A red circle around Lakeside Inn. She frowned. "What is—" Next page. The photo from the Thai place. Her in the booth. Daniel's hand resting just a little too familiar on her back. Color drained from her face. I turned another page. A transcript excerpt, highlighted. "He trusts me completely. He's so predictable. It's kind of sad." Her mouth opened, then closed. I watched the stages roll across her expression. Confusion, recognition, horror, then the scrambling you see when someone's trying to build a new lie fast enough to outrun the truth. I leaned back in my chair, calm. "This isn't a conversation about your resume, Hannah," I said. "Our dinner table's been a stage for months. Tonight, it's a place for the truth." And for the first time in a long time, she didn't have anywhere to hide. She finally managed to speak. "Cole, I can explain. It wasn't, I know everything, I said quietly. And I've known for weeks. She shut her mouth. I tapped the folder. GPS, photos, audio. I know about Lakeside Inn. I know about the fake trips. I know what you told him about me. Tears started spilling fast. It was a mistake. No, I cut in. A mistake is tripping over a word, forgetting a birthday. This wasn't a mistake, Hannah. This was a series of choices. I kept my voice steady. Our marriage didn't die because you had sex with him. It died every time you looked me in the eye and lied. Every late meeting, every supplier visit, every night you came home from his bed, climbed into ours, and let me hold you like nothing was wrong. She sobbed harder, shaking her head. I flipped to the transcript page and read it slow. He trusts me completely. He's so predictable. It's kind of sad. Her own words, right back at her. You took the fact that I trusted you, I said, and you turned it into a joke. I closed the folder. You made your choices, Hannah. I'm making mine now. I reached back into the folder and pulled out the last document. Thicker paper, clean header, too many lines. She stared at it like it might disappear if she didn't blink. What is that? Divorce papers, I said. Logan filed them this morning. She recoiled like I'd hit her. Cole, no. No, we can go to counseling. We can fix this. I shook my head. We're past fixing. We're dividing. I laid it out in the same calm tone I'd use in a briefing. The house? I bought it before we got married. It's in my name, paid with my VA loan. You don't have equity in it. The cars? Titled separately. You keep yours, I keep mine. Savings account? We split it down the middle. No kids, no alimony. Clean break. She was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Please, Cole. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Just don't do this. Don't throw away 8 years. I looked her straight in the eye. I'm not the one who threw it away. Silence sat between us like a third person. You have 2 weeks to move out, I said finally. You'll have enough from your car and your half of the savings to land somewhere. After that, this isn't your address anymore. That was the point of no return. It wasn't an idea anymore. It was law. It was real. Those next 2 weeks were the strangest of my life. We still moved around the same house, slept in separate rooms, shared the same kitchen. On paper, nothing looked that different. In reality, everything was dead. We became polite roommates. Morning. Coffee's fresh. Small talk, like strangers in the same house. She tried to bring up old memories. I didn't play along. That version of us was dead. I knew from Logan that her lawyer had seen the evidence and advised her to sign everything. Fighting would only make it worse for her. Meanwhile, Daniel went full ghost mode. No calls, no texts returned. He'd lost his side piece and was too scared of losing everything else. On moving day, I helped her carry boxes to the small rental truck the way I'd help a neighbor. No yelling, no dramatic speeches, just lifting and loading. When she closed the door on the last box, she looked at me like she wanted me to stop her. I didn't. Sometimes the loudest thing a man can say is nothing at all. After she was gone, the house felt hollow, not haunted, just emptied out, like a shed someone stripped for parts. Every room was a reminder of what we were and what we pretended to be. The dent in the wall from when we moved the couch in, the little paint stain in the hallway from when she decided we were DIY people for exactly 1 weekend. I could have stayed. A lot of guys do. Sit in the ruins and call it loyalty. I listed it instead. The market was good. Ridgewood's one of those towns people fight to move into. The house went fast. Paperwork signed, keys handed over, just like that. 8 years became a line item on a closing statement. With the money, I bought 10 acres out in the hill country, 40 minutes outside town, dirt road, patchy grass, a small cabin that needed work, and a big metal workshop that didn't. I cared more about the shop. I insulated it, cut in bigger windows, installed a wood stove, brought in my tools, my old Chevy, the pieces of my life I actually wanted to keep. First night I stood in that doorway looking out at open land and an empty sky, it hit me. Out here, nobody was lying to my face. No one was laughing at my trust. Out here, I could finally breathe. Life got simple after that. During the day, I worked my contracts, security audits, camera installs, locking down offices for people who still thought bad things happened somewhere else. It paid the bills and kept my head busy. Evenings belonged to the shop. I'd roll up the big door, let the hill country air drift in, and lose myself in work that didn't lie. Old engines, knife handles from scraps of hardwood, rough boards turning into something straight and square under my hands. Eat something basic. Shower, sleep, repeat. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't exciting. But for the first time in a long time, my life didn't have any hidden side channel running under it. No secret texts. No second storyline I didn't know about. I tried dating a little. Coffee here, a drink there. I wasn't hunting for some healer to fix my damage. Just human company. Normal conversations. Women who weren't hiding entire hotel weekends behind the word meeting. Then one week, I was sanding down a fender and it hit me. I hadn't thought about Hannah or Daniel in days. A full week gone, and their names hadn't crossed my mind once. It wasn't joy exactly, but it was something solid. Peace. Not happiness yet, but solid peace. A little while after that, my phone buzzed while I was sharpening a chisel. Logan. I wiped my hands on a rag and answered. "What's up?" "Just a heads up," he said. "Hannah's been calling around, asking where you moved. Wanted to know if I'd at least give her a town. I didn't tell her anything." There was a pause before he continued. "But that's not all. Someone tried to pull your forwarding address from the county records. Wrong form. Wrong department, wrong timing, sloppy. That's how I knew it wasn't you. Be careful." For a second, the old version of me twitched, the one who braced every time her name came up. But it passed. "Appreciate the warning," I said. "You did the right thing." After we hung up, I stepped to the workshop door, looking at the dirt road. Quiet. Still. Too still. And for the first time in weeks, the land didn't feel peaceful. It felt like a storm about to arrive. Out here, you can hear a vehicle long before you see it. Most days, that road is just wind and dust. But that afternoon, the sound wasn't normal. Not steady, not smooth. The engine kept revving, slowing, revving again, like the driver couldn't decide whether to keep going or turn around. I set my tools down, wiped my palms on my jeans, stepped to the workshop doorway and listened. The sound got closer, then stopped. Not in my driveway, not at the gate, but just out of sight, somewhere behind the tree line. The engine idled for a long, uneasy moment, and then crept forward again until the car finally appeared. A small sedan, dust rolling off its wheels, and a woman stepping out who looked like she hadn't slept in days. Hannah. She walked closer, stopping a few feet from the door, like there was an invisible line she knew better than to cross. "I lost everything," she said quietly. "The job, obviously. Then the apartment. My car got repossessed last month. Savings are gone. I'm sleeping in my sister's spare room, and she's already hinting about rent I can't pay." Her voice cracked. "I destroyed the best thing in my life for a man who won't even look at me now. Daniel blocked me. Acts like I never existed." She let out a bitter laugh. "Guess I wasn't that special after all." She took a breath, words tumbling. "I was selfish. I know that now. I wanted to feel wanted, exciting, different. I chased that feeling and burned everything else down. I get it. I do. But please," her eyes filled, "I'm asking you for one more chance. I'll go to therapy. I'll take whatever job I can. I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. Just don't leave me like this." I looked at her, really looked. Not the woman I married, not the woman from the hotel, just someone who pushed all her chips into the middle of the table and lost. I let her finish, let the words hang there between us, heavy and shaking. Then I shook my head. "You don't want me, Hannah," I said. "You want what I used to represent." She frowned. "What does that even mean?" "It means you want stability, a roof that's paid for, a man who shows up, someone who takes the hit, while you chase whatever feeling you're addicted to this month." Her eyes flashed. "That's not fair." "What's not fair," I cut in, "is you laughing with him about how much I trusted you, calling it sad. You remember saying that? He trusts me completely. He's so predictable. It's kind of sad." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "You're not standing here because you suddenly woke up and realized what you did was wrong," I said. "You're here because you lost. You lost the job, the apartment, the affair, the fallback plan. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry it cost you." Her voice climbed, desperate. "Everyone makes mistakes. You're supposed to forgive. That's what love is." "Forgiveness," I said quietly, "is for people who own their choices and change. You're not owning. You're just running from consequences." And I wasn't going to be her escape route anymore. I closed the door, turned the lock. On the other side, I heard her crying, then the car door, then the engine fading down the dirt road. I stood there for a moment, hand still on the deadbolt. Then something made me look down. Right at my feet, wedged under the bottom of the door, was a small folded paper. She must have dropped it, or pushed it under, when I shut her out. I picked it up, unfolded it. It wasn't an apology, it wasn't a plea, it was a photo. The two of us on our wedding day, her handwriting on the back. "I really thought I would never lose you." I looked at it for a long second, then set it on the shelf beside the tools I actually planned to keep. Not in anger, not in nostalgia, just final. Then I got back to work. I thought that was the last time I'd hear from her. Turns out I was wrong, but not in the way you think. I didn't expect to see him again. I was at Home Depot on a Saturday, pushing a cart loaded with 2x4s and concrete mix, half my mind on a deck I wanted to build behind the cabin. I turned into the paint aisle and there he was, Daniel Harper. No suit, no polished shoes, just a wrinkled polo, dark circles under his eyes, a cart full of paint cans and tape. The shine he had on that company website was gone. Life had already taken its swing. He saw me the same second I saw him. You could almost hear the "oh shit" in his head. "Cole," he started, swallowing hard. I just wanted to say There's nothing you can say that matters," I cut in. "Not angry, just done." He opened his mouth, closed it again. I nodded at his cart. "Just remember this next time you want something that belongs to someone else. Consequences are real. Some of us don't forgive. Some of us just walk away and let life handle the rest." I didn't wait for an answer. I pushed my cart past him, checked out, and drove back to my land. He'd live with his choices. I had boards to cut. These days, my life is small in all the right ways. I work my jobs, drive into town, secure an office, fix someone's camera system, grab a coffee, and head back out to where the sky feels bigger. I spend weekends adding on to the cabin, one project at a time. A deck, better steps, a decent porch. In the evenings, I take the old truck down back roads with the windows down, radio on low, warm air rolling through. I'm not out here hunting for a better half. I'm not looking for a woman to patch the holes someone else blew in me. I rebuilt myself, piece by piece, with my own hands. If someone eventually shows up who fits this life, this honest, quiet, no bullshit life, then good. If not, I'm still good. One afternoon, sitting on the tailgate watching the sun drop behind the hills, it hit me. I couldn't remember the last time I'd thought, if Hannah hadn't, or if things were different. That loop was gone. I'm not going to lie to you and say I'm blissfully happy every second. I'm not. But I am free. I sleep at night. I look in the mirror and recognize the man staring back. Not happy yet, but getting there. One honest day at a time. That brings me back to where we started. Her in our kitchen saying, "I need freedom from this marriage," and me answering, "Good. Pack fast. Tonight it begins." She thought I was setting her free from me. Truth is, that night I was finally setting myself free. From lies, from being the punchline in someone else's joke, from a life that only looked solid from the outside. Here's what I had to learn the hard way. Trust is a choice. You give it because that's who you are. But self-respect? That's non-negotiable. You don't hand that over, not for anyone. Being loyal, steady, predictable, that's not sad. That's a man doing what a man is supposed to do. Don't ever let somebody twist your best qualities into something pathetic and call it love. If any part of this story sits in your gut like a stone, you're not alone. A lot of us have eaten the same kind of betrayal in silence. So do me a favor, drop a comment, tell your story if you're ready, or just type, "I hear you" for the next guy scrolling at 2 a.m. Hit like, subscribe, share this with a man who needs to remember his worth. Because sometimes "tonight it begins" is the first honest sentence a man says in years.